Thanks for staying on the marketplace. Welcome back. The increase in communication service tax and utility tariffs, depositors insurance, and forward sale of forex are all expected to be implemented today. This is after the regulators overseeing these sectors approved the respective taxes and policy measures. But how would this affect you as a consumer? George Yafi has more.
The first thing that would hit you this morning is the amount of money that will be paid for per unit of electricity consumed, which is going up by at least 5.94%, while water is up by 2.2%. For users of the communication-related services offered by the telcos, the cost is going up by 3% to 9%. This should mean that for every 1 Ghana cedi spent, about 7 pesos is going to the state as tax, while the remaining 93 pesos is a real value left for you as a consumer. Now let's look at the depositors insurance scheme supposed to protect depositors' funds. Well, from today, if a bank should collapse with your deposits, you should get about 6,250 Ghana cedis as the first tranche payment, while the rest will be paid after the completion of the liquidation process for that bank in question. Customers of the specialized depositors taking institutions, on the other hand, would get 1,250 Ghana cedis. According to the president of the Association of Bankers, Al-Hassan Andani, they will take up the full cost of this initiative and they won't pass it on to consumers. From today, the Bank of Ghana is also rolling out an initiative that will allow businesses to secure forex in advance to aid their imports. The forward sale of forex, according to the central bank, should go a long way to help stabilize the Ghana cedi and also sanitize the forex trading business. For banks that were refusing to accept the National Identification Authority cards, well, a directive is on its way from the central bank to ensure that it is accepted as a means of identifying customers for all banking transactions. Well, if you are a consumer or businessman operating in any of these sectors of the economy, especially when it comes to the taxes, you may have to brace yourself for some increase in cost of production as well as standard of living.
Also, the Chief Finance Officer of Airtel Tigo, Prince Achampong, says customers of the telecom company will from today pay more for their data and voice calls as the communication service tax implementation begins. This is because the company only acts as an intermediary collecting the revenue on behalf of government. He's supposed to join business at the unveiling of a new composition by Fuse ODG in Accra.
I would recommend that everybody go read what the notice that has been shared out there by the Telecom Chamber. It sums up everything. One thing about CST is that it's not a tax or a burden from we, the operators. It's government that is levying the customer. We are just an intermediary. So if the government has increased it from 6 to 9%, as a good corporate citizen, all that we have to do is to oblige and obey the rules. So the government say collect 9% out of the customer's credit or whatever rate charge that they do. We cannot say no, that would be illegal. So from what the Telecom Chamber has published, from 1st October, it's coming into force, and we just plead that.
Now, the PRC has reviewed electricity and water tariffs for the fourth quarter of 2019, which is from October to December. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission says consumers of electricity and water have witnessed an upward adjustment in the existing tariffs. The increase is 5.94% for electricity tariffs and 2.22% on water tariffs across board for all customer categories effective October 1. That's today. A board member of the Commission, Ishmael Jokumihi, has been justifying the increase.
In 2018, anyway, the exchange rate we used was 4.43. The exchange rate today is 5.3 or something like that. How is he saying that tariffs should remain where they are? If you do what he's saying we should be doing, that's how come we were in doomsday for all those years. The energy sector has to recover. Unless somebody is bringing money to recover any shortfall, the sector will have to be able to pay for itself. Okay, we are saddled with debts in excess of, nobody even knows the exact amount, close to $3 billion. Do we want to be adding to that? At the end of it all, it's the same Ghanaians, the bonds that they are taking, you and I are going to pay for that. Why can't we delink politics from what is going on and speak the truth so that we don't create confusion for everybody to solve in the future? And he sits there and is complaining, talking as if he doesn't. He's been a minister before. Why is he bringing PURC in? He's consistently been trying to bring PURC into this whole political thing. PURC did its work. I'm a member of that commission, and we know what we did. We put out the report in 2019, the tariffs that we announced in 2019. That report is also on the website. If you are questioning the assumptions, don't come and say that it's for political reasons without substantiating it. That's the reason why he was a minister. He was a part of the doomsday that we all encountered in this country. So yes, if we're talking about the basis has been provided. It's not, we know what, I mean, as a member of the commission, I know that what we did was grounded on facts and figures. Talking about whether or not Ghana Water is saying the money is not sufficient, Ghana Water should come and tell us how much they deem to be sufficient, okay? And then we will explain to them what led to this. We've published everything. They should come and tell us why they think that the increment they are getting wouldn't be sufficient to pay for PDA. The reason why they are getting that 2% is that the energy component of their production has been adjusted. What is it that Ghana Water is talking about?
So Ishmael Jacob-Hine was earlier sharing his thoughts on News Desk when we debated the former Deputy Minister of Energy, Abu Jinapo. Let's now cross over to Kumasi to get some reactions from the business community on the current development. Prince Appiah joins us via Skype. Now, Prince, how is the business community taking the current utility tariff increase in Kumasi?
Ima, it is very difficult for most of the business community here in Ashanti region, basically because this has come at a time where the prices of fuel prices went up a few months ago, and that culminated into the prices of transport fares, which they say has already affected goods and services, which has affected their cost of operations as well. And so what they are saying is that this coming in is also going to affect their goods and services and their operations. Again, for those who are using the water, who will be affected by the the increase in water tariffs, are saying that currently they fear that their work, patronage of their work will be affected. Despite that fact, they still believe that they would have to increase the prices of their services to be able to meet up with the increase in the utility price so that they don't incur a lot of losses in their businesses. Those using the electricity, for instance, when you visit places like Asafo, where they do a lot of printing, are saying that the cost of stationery items are definitely going to go up because they are going to increase their cost by 5.5%, exactly how the cost of the increase in electricity have been affected. So exactly the same increase, which means that cost of stationery, printing items, all are going to be affected and increased within a few period of time now. I should also say that right from this morning, prices of farm milk products and their associate products have already started with the increase in prices, and those being sold at 1 cedi 20 pesos, 1 cedi are currently being sold at 1 cedi 20 pesos, and those being sold at 1 cedi 50 pesos have increased to 1 cedi 80 pesos, which means that some of the goods and services in the Ashanti region have already started feeling the pinch of the increase in tariffs of water and electricity, and others are going to see further increase very soon, and that's what the business community have been explaining to me. So it hasn't been so much accepted as a good thing. They are all saying that they are going to increase their prices so that it will cushion them for the shocks that this is going to come with, Emmanuel.
Very well, Prince. But have you also had any reactions to the increase in the communication service tax today?
Yeah, most definitely. Most of these businesses that are engaged tell me that the new trend and the current style of business is that no business, no company or no business can do without making calls. And as a result, every cost calculation that they make, they inject the call tax, call credit into it. So the fact that this has increased and has taken effect from today for 9% is definitely going to be injected into their cost of operation. And of course, it will definitely going to be seen in the prices per unit of some of the products that they are going to churn out, these businesses that I've spoken with. So of course, all these three increments from today are going to see some transformational effect on prices of goods and services of most of the businesses that are being affected by DIMA.
Thank you very much, Prince, for that update. Prince Appiah bringing us some reactions from the Ashanti Regional Capital, Kumasi, with regards to the increase in the communication service tax and also the utility tariffs announced by the PURC today. Now, dissolve the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, or establish a new law to replace the GNPC Act. That's coming from the Institute of Fiscal Studies to Government. According to the Institute, the GNPC has drifted away from its core mandate and engaging in corporate social responsibilities which do not inure to the profitability of the corporation. The GNPC in 2018 invested in CSRs amounting to the tune of about $29 million as compared with that of 2017 of almost $5 million. Executive Director of the IFS, Professor Newman Kusi, spoke to Joy Business at a press conference.
GNPC was established by an act 1983. It's 36 years now, and there's nothing as far as oil exploration and production and development is concerned. There's nothing that GNPC has got to show to us. Okay, so we are saying that maybe it's because of the law, the way the law that established GNPC and those type of things. So let us amend the law or formulate or produce a new law that will force or make GNPC to focus on its key responsibility: exploring oil, develop the oil, and produce the oil. It is not the responsibility of GNPC to give scholarships or to go and take corporate social responsibilities, such as going to repair a hospital or going to buy a car for this and so. In fact, GNPC going to, it's very, I didn't understand. How can GNPC, which receives its main source of revenue, is oil revenue that goes there, and the GNPC loan money to government, Minister of Finance? Does it make sense? I find it difficult to understand what that type of mechanism is.
You know, it means that entities are encouraged to engage in corporate social responsibility.
Yes, but yes, entities are encouraged to put corporate social responsibility. But here, GNPC, you have been asked to perform a specific function. That function, you are not doing it, but you are undertaking corporate social responsibility. It means that you are putting the corporate social responsibility activities before, before your main activity for which you were established. And that shouldn't be the case.
So you mentioned that the GNPC is now as good as being dissolved if there is no new law to direct.
Of course, the question is, what are we getting from GNPC as far as its mandate, the mandate that established the organization? What are we getting out of it? So if we are not getting out of it, then why do we have to continue to have the organization exist?
But don't you think this is to the extreme?
Well, I don't think it is the extreme. We were established to do ABCD. This ABCD that you are established to do, for which you are finding, you are not doing it. It means that you are incapable of doing it, and therefore we should take it away from you.
Meanwhile, Senior Research Fellow of the Institute, Leslie Dwight Mensah, has also called for an amendment of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act to provide a limit for government's annual budget funding amount.
The law should say that at all times the balance should not be less than a certain level. That's a floor. It means you can't go below that floor. And this floor, because the Civilization Fund is intended to alleviate shortfalls in petroleum revenues allocated to the budget, this floor could be set as a percentage of the ABFA, of the annual budget funding amount. So in the budget, if the minister projects his revenue expected to come into the budget, the ABFA, he could then say, for example, or the law could require that you should at all times have a minimum of 40% of the ABFA projection in the stabilization fund.
It's live on the marketplace, and news just coming in indicates some developments within the cocoa industry, and it says government has announced an increase in cocoa producer price by more than 8% for the next crop season. Government has announced a marginal increase in the cocoa producer price index for the next season. It was increased by a little over 8%. Now, this means that a 64-kilo bag would now be sold at 515, while a ton would go for 8,249 Ghana cedis. Minister of State in charge of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Nura Jara, announced this on behalf of the President at a program in Sunyani in the Bono region a while ago. Now, former Finance Minister Seth Terkper has mounted a strong defense against suggestions that his government had a lukewarm attitude implementing recommendations of an asset quality review and stress test conducted on the banking sector when he was in office. According to Mr. Terkper, his government was interested in going about the cleanup in a more humane manner, which would have saved jobs and local banks from collapsing. He has been speaking to my colleague Norvan Akwahefond.
The asset quality review is something which we had to implement with all these recommendations.
Those recommendations.
Exactly. So some of the measures that are being taken now, would definitely have happened. But we needed to do the immediate.
Why did it take you 2 years, 3 years, and you were still there? Because you had started ESLA, things were happening.
We were not just there. I think that is part of what we should be avoiding. Remember in 2016.
Why didn't you pull the plug when you needed to?
There is history.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't our first banking crisis in country, and there is history from the global financial crisis.
Yes.
That you can take a measure, which is very, very tough, as has been done now, but the consequences are there. And then you live with the cost. Jobs, investors losing their investments. I remember some banks, as we were listening, started virtually as financial institutions and grew into maybe savings and loan size banks before they became, universal banks, losing those banks. But the history which I'm talking about was the immediate history of the global financial crisis and what the US and the UK in particular attempted to do, which is the Big Bang. That's the expression, Big Bang approach.
Yes, the Big Bang.
So they let Lehman Brothers go down. We just celebrated its 10th year. And the impact was so systemic, right, that they decided that, wait a minute, maybe there should be an alternative. So quantitativism and others came in, and that is because it is more about the ramifications. And those were equally successful.
Yeah,
what I'm saying is that, no, let's not dismiss it. The Big Bang is not necessarily the only solution.
Now, I just wanted to ask you this question, that so you were willing to sacrifice having a robust and more confident sector as against trying to hold jobs? Is that it?
No, in the economy as a whole. Today we have some crisis of confidence.
Today the confidence is bouncing back. Today the banking sector is set to be robust, according to reports from the Bank of Ghana. They are just
I'm saying that,
yes, people have lost jobs anyway. But depositors' funds was also secured. You're taking your taxpayers' funds.
No.
And to put it there.
No, when you are a manager of the economy, right, you have to look at, you have to take a pragmatic and measured approach to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
You are assuming that because of what has been done, the Big Bang, and what we are seeing, there's so much success. And I'm saying don't belittle the fact that major indigenous investors are out of the space. Our banking sector is dominated now And that's a key issue now. How do we grow the next batch of Ghanaian entrepreneurs?
Oh, you still have Bank there, you still have GCB in there, you have NIB in there, Omnibank and Sahara that has become Omnibasic. Banks.
No. You talk about Omnibank, and that is, you are bringing out a very important factor. There wasn't one solution. NIB has a 400 million been met.
We are told that now they've been met.
No, what we are being told, please. I think that, even in an interview recently, it was admitted that, the problem with NIB was so and so and all that. So I'm saying that should also tell us that some of the approach that we were adopting have been adopted, but there's so much emphasis on the big bang as if that is the only thing that happened.
And on that note, we draw the curtain down on the marketplace today. Many thanks for your company. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. You have to join me again same time tomorrow for more interesting developments in the world of business. Have a good afternoon.